Hey everyone, welcome to 996 The Howl for the uninitiated. This is an unedited YouTube vlog discussing everything Arizona Coyotes right there. And may have jumped the gun on John Chayka making a trade in the month of June, but he was a busy man. Busy June for the Coyotes, not in terms of trades like I said, but in terms of management, getting a new owner in Alex Merello, getting a new assistant coach in Phil Housley, who was the Buffalo Sabres head coach for 2 seasons before being fired this past April. Phil Housley will be an assistant coach today to Rick Tocchet. It looks like he's going to be taking care of the power play and the offensive side of the Coyotes. Not sure yet if anyone's going to go, John McClain or Scott Allen. I hope neither of them go. If one of them has to go, I hope it's John McClain, who is in charge of the power play and the offensive zone of the Coyotes. I loved Scott Allen. I loved what he did with the penalty kill. Love what he did with the defense. Thought it was a top 10 defense in the league. And I hope they keep Scott Allen. It would be a mistake to let Scott Allen go, but that's not the main point of today. The draft just finished this past weekend. And John Chayka again goes off the board like he always does. It's always an important moment for the draft. I remember 2 years ago, his first draft, he trades Connor Murphy for Nicholas Hjalmarsson, and then he trades his 7th overall pick to the Rangers for Derek Stepan and Antti Ranta. 2 huge trades. And then he picks Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who is a bit of a long-term project and off-the-board pick defenseman. And John Chayka warned us that as soon as he drafted Joseph, he's like, it's going to be a long-term project. And 2.5 years later, here we are. And Joseph's still a long-term project. Not sure what's going to happen with him. Pretty sure he'll start on the Tucson Roadrunners next season if he's allowed. I haven't checked. Pretty sure he will be on the Roadrunners next season. And then last season, he got, 2016, he got Jacob Chychrun and Clayton Keller. He got Datsuk's contract from Detroit and got Chychrun. And then 2017, he got Joseph. And then last year, he got Barrett Hayden at 5th overall, which was another off-the-board pick. We all expected John Chayka to draft Philip Zadina or like a scoring winger at last year's draft, and he didn't either. He got a nice two-way reliable centerman, and Hayden's looking like a great pick. His stock increased last season, picking up huge points. He played for Canada in the World Juniors. Really liking Hayden as he progresses and he develops. So this draft, what did he do? He picked up a Swedish defenseman in Victor Soderstrom, but he had to trade to draft up to acquire him, which I love. I love when Chayka drafts up to get a player. It really shows that he really wanted the player and makes the player feel important, and someone out there wanted him. And I hope Victor carries that throughout his whole development and NHL career. He is not friends with Ekman Larsson or Nicholas Hjalmarsson, 2 of the main Swedish defensemen on the Coyotes already, but I'm sure they will be a father figure to Victor. They speak Swedish. They live in Sweden in their off time. And I think it'd be a great environment for Victor to grow and become that Ekman Larsson 2.0, which it seems that that's what he's going to be. I don't think we're going to look at him as such an offensive dynamo. I think we're going to look at him as a really good two-way defenseman, exceptional in his own zone, knows how to retrieve pucks, board battles, and makes that first great pass, which all the scouts mention Victor Soderstrom is very good at. He's good at moving the puck, starting plays, and carrying plays. And that first pass, he's really excellent at. He's got a great shot, some scouts say, but it's not his number one cornerstone of being a player. It's more his two-way play and more, having a good awareness of the ice. I like that. We'll see what happens with the pick. I was expecting a forward, a scoring winger, just like last year, but John Chayka saved that for the later rounds. He drafted 7 forwards at this draft, 3 centermen and 4 wingers. So, it's all about numbers. One of them's going to land for sure. So it's great to see John Chayka know that the forward prospect pool was a bit dwindling in the Coyotes. And it's good that he picked up 7 of them. So hopefully one of them lands. And then he picked up 1 other defenseman in the later rounds. So that was it for the draft. The draft, not much surprises, I would say, as compared to other years. Not many amazing trades. I think the free agency is going to be a big period for teams. The PK Subban was one of the major trades. Him and Patrick Marleau were the big trades during the draft weekend. But on the Coyotes' perspective, I think free agency is going to be a big period where John Chayka needs to make a move for a scoring winger. The Coyotes have been in talks with Matt Duchene, which I would love to acquire him. But I think Nashville moving PK Subban is going to offer Duchene $10 million for sure. So I think the Coyotes will lose it on that. But they're in talks with Chris Kreider on their New York Rangers, who's a fast, speedy, young guy. He's in his prime, I would say, or just about to enter it. So that fits in John Chayka's wheelhouse. Anders Lee from the New York Islanders, I wouldn't mind picking him up. Or a San Jose guy like Jonas Donskoy, Kevin LeBanc. I would love one of those guys. But, who's to say what happens? Just gotta trust in John Chayka. He's looking at a very long-term plan for this team. But I think he also has to know that a lot of the players the Coyotes are hoping to produce are actually on the team already. I've said this in numerous videos. I think Dvorak, Keller, Fisher, Krause, and Schmaltz now, they really need to start producing, hit that 20-goal mark consistently, and I think the team would be fine if just those players, pick up the boots and establish themselves as NHL players. Looking at their current farm team and prospects, you got Nate Schnarr, Braden Burke, Tyler Steenbergen, Nick Merkley, and Barrett Hayden, who's at the top of that prospect pool. One of them needs to grab a wing position and make it onto the team. I hope it's Nick Merkley. He was a first-round draft pick probably in 2015, I would say. We got him through that Vermette trade with Chicago, and hopefully he makes the team out of camp. He worked great with Dylan Strome. It was Dylan Strome, Nick Merkley, and Lawson Krause in the Tucson Roadrunners a couple of seasons ago, who ran the league and were putting up huge points. And then coming into the training camp, Nick Merkley got injured again, I think for a second time. He got injured another time at training camp. But I hope Nick Merkley's healthy for this camp and comes out swinging and steals a spot. I hope he puts the fire under Connor Garland, who managed to secure a spot in the middle of last season. John Chayka offering him a one-way contract. So, if he starts the season off with the Coyotes, he's going to be on the Coyotes and going to have to go through waivers to be sent down to the Roadrunners, or he starts with the Roadrunners and makes NHL money for his whole tenure with the Roadrunners. But that wing position, I think that Richard Panik occupies right now, which I think the Coyotes probably won't re-sign Panik, and Connor Garland managed to get himself a wing spot. I think one of those wing spots on the second line or the third line needs to be filled this coming week, whether through agency or a trade or something, or if John Chayka decides to stay put, which I doubt he will, because he's got the room to make one move. He can't do a drastic move, but he can make one move where he could shape the wing position, and I hope he does. I hope he gets Matt Duchene. I think that would propel this team to a consistent playoff contender immediately. I think Matt Duchene will bring that to the team. He's been an offensive dynamic player in every team he's been on, so I think the Coyotes won't be any different. If he goes for Chris Kreider or Gustav Nyquist, then maybe it will help, but it's going to be up to the Coyotes' current young players to really take the mantle and lead this team to a new era, and I hope they do. Do I have confidence in those players? Somewhat. I have confidence in Keller and Schmaltz, confidence in Dvorak and Krause. I don't have confidence in Fisher. And Garland, he's got to be more consistent, but I like what I see. He's tenacious on the puck, goes into dirty areas, and shoots the puck when he wants to. So he's not always looking for that amazing pass, which I like. So we'll see. Draft weekend came and went. Not much news for the Coyotes. Drafted 7 forwards. So we'll see what happens. It's more of a numbers game in terms of later round drafts. You know, as many players as you draft, one of them will hit. So we'll see what happens. And we'll see if John Chayka is active in the free agency or in the trade market. He's been quiet, which is uncharacteristic of him in the end of June and beginning of July. So I would say, you know, stick to your phone, stick to Twitter, and we'll just see him make another monster move like he did with getting Victor Soderstrom, who is ranked, you know, in the late teens, early 20s by a number of scouts. So not completely off the board, but a lot of people scratching their heads and saying, there goes John Chayka going off the board once again. So I'm happy for the pick, happy for another Swedish defenseman, happy for OEL to be a mentor instead of being the mentoree. And let's see what happens here. That's it for me. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your support.